Quote, why would Governor Christie invite these self-proclaimed leaders to his home away from home? Why would he now associate with the Tea Party groups that he did everything possible to avoid during the last elections? Why would he bring these leaders together today? He goes on to inquire about how somehow all you folks got invited there. How did this happen? Did he just pull the names out of a hat? Quote, now we know that he did not do that at all, but most likely asked someone close to him who would be the Tea Party leaders who could bet. This guy can't write. I suppose what he's trying to say is who the best people would be to ask to this gathering, and suggested the person most likely is the same person who used the Bayshore Tea Party to gain the Republican nomination for the 6th congressional. He's referring obviously to Anna Little. It is a wonder what a little backroom politics can accomplish. Now, this basically is a serious implication. What he's saying here is that all sorts of backroom deals were made. You were gathered together to, looks like one of those secret Davos meetings in Switzerland. All sorts of shady things went on behind closed doors. Clearly, you're scheming the destruction of the state of New Jersey, and all sorts of horrible things flowing therefrom.
I got a phone call inviting me to go there. I would never have said no, never. It was an opportunity to ask questions, to see what do they want, what do they want, why do they want us there. I had no idea who was going.
All right, that was going to be my next question. When you were invited, you had no idea who any of the other attendees
exactly.
would be. Now, when you were gathering out there in the driveway, did you recognize any of the other people? There were many of them, or
well, altogether in the end, when we all got into the room, there were 14 people there.
All right.
14. Well, 14 were invited, but some brought other people with them. I guess they've been through something like this before. I wasn't, so I just went by myself because that's what I was told to do. When we did get there, we sat down. There was no photo op. There were no photographs. The photograph that I put on Facebook, because that's just how I am. I got a picture next to the governor, put it on Facebook. It's the first thing I thought of.
Who wouldn't do something
When the
like
governor
that?
wasn't looking, I literally pushed my camera phone across to the girl across from me, and I said, "Take a picture." And that's why I kind of look. I say I get kind of goofy in the picture, like I got caught. I found out later that the man sitting across from me, who I didn't really know who he was Robert Eichmann. Right.
You had no idea that you were
didn't know
sitting
who he was.
across from the man who routinely lynches your organization.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Now, at this meeting, we took notes, and the governor just came in and started talking. There was no how-do-you-dos, there was no fancy breakfast. It was just, we sat down, he came in, he passed out the budget. Then he took like a question from each person, went around the room. Okay. But people asked about RGGI and immigration and those kind of questions. The very questions.
How did he handle those questions?
How did he? He did answer the RGGI question by saying, which is what he did recently. He did say that he was going to get on board with getting rid of RGGI.
And ultimately he did nix it.
Okay. Absolutely. Then there was another meeting that this time I said, Bob, you need to come with me. People brought their...
So there was a second meeting with the governor?
There was a second meeting. And at the second meeting, there was half the amount of people. So the very first question I asked was, where are the other people? Because now I'm beginning to wonder. It didn't strike me at first, but then I did start to wonder, why did I get a phone call? Who picked out these certain names? Who picked the 14 people when there's hundreds of tea parties in New Jersey?
Was Eichmann at the second meeting?
No. And I did ask about that. I asked one of the members there why he wasn't there.
And the response?
And the response was something to the effect that inviting him to the first one was some sort of experiment. It wasn't a good time to get into the conversation. I had it like a couple of seconds of an opportunity to ask, and I asked, and that was the answer. Was kind of
now at the first at that first meeting, you said a question was asked about immigration. Am I correct in assuming it was very likely asked by Dr. Gail Kesselman?
Yes, absolutely.
Was she present at the second meeting?
No, I don't know who knows I don't know how many people know who was at the meeting that Bob and I were with, but I have no idea who met at other meetings after that. There was at least another meeting, but I have no
And
idea.
you know you
Everyone's
weren't
kind of
invited
keeping
to
it
that
kind of
one.
quiet. Exactly. You know what? If the intentions are not pure, I don't care. I don't care. Bob and I are still going to ask our questions. We're going to be very upfront. We're going to say what we need to say. We're going to ask what we have to ask.
According to CNJ, you guys were basically shaking pom-poms for Christie and for his budget. It says here, for a couple of minutes with the governor, the leaders of Tea Party groups across the state have sold their members out, whether they know it or not. Now the leaders of the Tea Party groups will tell the press how they and their members support the supposed conservative Governor Christie and his new state budget. Response?
We can approve governor's position on the budget, or we can disapprove of it. There are elements of his budget that where he's spending more money on schools, for example. There's an element in the budget that includes a dollar amount mandated by the New Jersey Supreme Court.
For the Abbott School
For
District.
the Abbott School Districts. We were under the impression that the governor would veto that portion of it because he stood in opposition to the Supreme Court's jurisdiction in that particular decision. But he didn't do that. So we could say, yes, we're in favor of the budget, but we're also against it. So if that makes any sense, it's more specifically oriented to certain issues within the budget that we find offensive, and his actions that we find difficult to accept. But overall, I think the budget is not a bad thing. It's just that there are certain issues that need to be tackled head on. I don't know that we can be really serious about analyzing a budget either way, but we're going to support the governor on his overall focus, which is to bring government spending in the state of New Jersey under control, and that's all of the aspects. It's not just the budget. Okay. There are things that we weren't particularly happy with the governor on what he's done. RGGI was a classic example. Originally, he was supporting it. We think that the pressure that we brought and Steve Lonigan brought and other groups brought turned him around on that issue.
Now, for someone to pick that up and say, which I'm sure that's what they're doing, they're looking for any way to say that, we were sellouts for going. I mean, our group, I don't know, I can't speak for the other groups, but our group knew about the meetings and but the pictures are up on the walls here, and they all know about what happened, and there aren't any secrets. So there's the leaders went off and support. I'd love to know where they saw that or heard that, or because I'm bewildered not only by this but much of that.